Both AMD and Intel make great CPUs, and while fanboys would like for you to believe that one company is significantly better than the other, the cold hard truth is you will have a phenomenal gaming experience regardless of the platform you choose. Hi, this is E-Rock on Tech, and today I'm sharing my experience with both Intel and AMD. Well, the title says it all. I started with AMD, I switched to Intel, and now after a few months of using Intel, I'm thinking about switching back to AMD. And I want to share my thoughts and experiences with you, but first, I need to make some things abundantly clear up front. What is the goal of today's video? Well, the goal is not to convince you to go to AMD or Intel. The beautiful part about PC building and PC gaming is that you can build the PC you want and you can game however you want. Having options is truly a beautiful thing. In fact, we need options in the marketplace for healthy competition. I am so happy we have Intel and AMD. And on the GPU side, I'm happy we have NVIDIA, AMD, and now Intel. And I think this is wonderful because for you as a consumer, the more options you have, the better it is for you because it creates competition. So truly, I have no skin in the game. I do not care what anybody uses. I think we need people using everything to keep the competition going. And so with that being said, I don't really care what you use, and I'm not here to convince you to go AMD or go Intel. I am simply presenting my experience to you. The second thing I want to point out is that nothing in this video is sponsored and nothing has been provided to me by anyone. When I talk about the Intel CPUs, I paid for all of that. When I talk about the AMD CPUs, I paid for all of that. When I talk about the RAM kits, I paid for all of that. And when I talk about the motherboards, unless stated otherwise later in the video, I paid for all of that. And so I am really coming into this video from a standpoint of I'm an average consumer who works a 9-to-5 job with a family, and I walked into Micro Center and I paid full US MSRP for these components. I brought them home, I used them for several months. Here is the experience. And honestly, we don't really have a lot of videos like that on YouTube. So here you go. And finally, I have to talk about the inevitable comments I will get from fanboys. Yes, unfortunately, there are fanboys in the PC space. When I left console and switched to PC gaming, I truly thought I was getting away from that, but no, unfortunately not. You see, the moment I say something negative about Intel people will rush to the comments, write a negative comment, and then share it with their Intel friends. Look at this AMD fanboy. And the moment I say something negative about AMD fanboys will probably do the exact same thing. And honestly, all the comments will be exactly the same. And if you don't believe me, go check them out for yourself. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. It's a skill issue. It's user error. I've used AMD/Intel for X amount of years. I've never had any of these problems ever. I have no idea what he's talking about. Just watch. Those comments are coming. And you know what? That's okay because it feeds the algorithm. It pushes the video to more people. So I'll welcome it. Now, with all that being said, let's talk about why I left AMD to begin with and switched over to Intel. And now let's talk about why I'm thinking about going back to AMD. I'll let you know my experiences, and I really do look forward to hearing from you in the comment section below because maybe you got some tips and settings and things I can try to make my experience better and change my mind as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's my history with AMD. I started off with a 3800X, I went to a 5800X, and then I went to a 5800X 3D. I do remember why and when I switched from a 3800X to a 5800X. I thought, hey, you know, this can be one of my big first tech reviews or whatever. That video bombed. It's still up on the channel, but I was just getting started. I had no idea what I was doing, and so that video kind of bombed. And then I eventually went to the 5800X 3D, and I know my reasoning for it was simple. It's the best gaming CPU you can buy at that time, and I'll never have to do another upgrade on the AM4 platform. But I don't remember the day I did it. Like, I don't remember when I did it. I don't even remember if I went to Micro Center or not. I'd have to check my receipts or whatever. But the point is, that's my history with the AMD CPUs. And honestly, that was one of the most beautiful things about the AM4 platform was that one socket supported all those CPUs and many more. In fact, today, even after AM5 came out, AMD went back and released a couple of more CPUs on the AM4 platform, which is like completely unheard of. So stuff like that's actually pretty cool. But during all of that, I never really had any type of Intel experience. And so I got to thinking, hey, well, eventually whenever I, upgrade again in the future, maybe I'll give Intel a try, get some Intel experience. And so I had my eyes on the 13700K, and I knew I could go with DDR4 or I could go with DDR5. Really, the choice was up to me. And me being me, I was probably going to go with DDR5 because after all, it's the latest and greatest. And so I was gearing up to make that transition, but then AMD released the 7800X 3D. Now at this time, this is before Patreon, and my Discord was still open to the public. My Discord blew up. Plenty of people were in there talking about how they're excited for the 7800X 3D. They're going to buy that CPU, and many of them were saying, hey, E-Rock, you should buy it. Are you going to buy it? I really want to know your thoughts on it. And so I had people actively in my community already asking me about that CPU. And I knew if I didn't have experience with it, I wouldn't really be able to talk about it too much. So instead of going Intel, once again, I went with AMD, and I went to the AM5 platform. And as you may know, that led to my Before You Buy AM5 video series. Now, when I went and purchased the platform, I never intended on making the Before You Buy AM5 video series. In fact, I didn't even intend on making the first video, but I had such a rough time with the AM5 platform, and I was so frustrated, I made the video. Much to my surprise, that video blew up, it took off, it did numbers I never expected. That ultimately led into a 4-part video series and multiple different calls with Asus. And that's how I was able to, build a relationship with them and then start getting a couple of components like a motherboard and an AIO and stuff like that. It really all worked out for me in the end there, but after the dust settled and, I was back to just making non-AM5 related videos, I started to get the itch again. I mean, at this point in time, I was kind of frustrated and exhausted from all the AM5 stuff, and my AM5 system was still not stable at 6,000 megahertz. At this point, I was on RAM kit number 3, I think it was, and I still could not get my system stable at 6,000 megahertz, yet everyone insisted that's the sweet spot. And I had many people in my community saying, I'm able to do it, I'm able to do it. And so it was just frustrating that I couldn't do it. And then meanwhile, over on the Intel side of things, and this is why I switched to Intel, on the Intel side of things, I'm seeing everybody running, 6,800 megahertz, 7,000 megahertz. Eventually people started reporting that they could hit all the way up to 8,000 megahertz with the RAM kits. And I had a sense of FOMO there, like, fear of missing out, like, oh, I'm really missing out. And then there's a certain segment of YouTubers, I won't mention any of them, but there's a certain section of YouTubers here on YouTube that really push out the narrative that Intel is significantly better than AMD, and AMD has something called AMDIP, and Intel just works. I mean, these are the types of things that this certain segment of YouTubers are pushing. And honestly, after my frustrations with the whole AM5 stuff, I said, you know what? I wanted to try Intel anyway, so why not? So I drank the Kool-Aid, I let FOMO get the best of me, and I went and I invested in Intel. Now at this point though, 14700K, 14900K, and all that stuff was coming out. And so I decided to go with a 14700K, not because it was worth it or really noticeably better than a 13700K, not really, but it just kind of made sense. Might as well buy latest and greatest. And technically you did get a few more E-cores. And so I went and I purchased, a 14700K. Later on, after Asus decided to work with me and send me the motherboard and the AIO, I did make a community post asking people, what CPU they wanted to see tested, and everybody voted for a 14900K. I did not own a 14900K, so I had to go out and buy one, and that was very, very expensive, and honestly, I kind of regret buying it. But with all that being said, I can give a little bit of credit to Intel here. I did buy the 14700K. I bought a 7200 megahertz kit, and I had an Asus ROG Maximus Hero motherboard that I got on Newegg for a phenomenal deal of $250. I paid for this. This was not a special discount just for me. It wasn't sponsored. Like, I paid for it. Phenomenal motherboard. High end, lots of features. I popped the 14700K in there, and honestly, before enabling XMP, it did just work. I mean, it booted right into Windows. It was totally fine. It was super fast. It had been so long since I experienced boot times of that fast. I was like, wow, this is nice, because AM5 booting times are pretty long. So wow, this is actually very nice. And that was really cool. But then I enabled XMP. and the system couldn't handle 7200 megahertz. And after a bunch of trial and error doing manual timings and voltage tuning and things of that nature, I really just concluded the best course of action was to enable XMP and lower the speed from 7200 down to 7000. And then boom, I never had another problem. It ran at 7000 megahertz all day long. I did multiple stability tests. Everything was great. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, because after having the 14700K for about 2 months or so and everything being totally fine and stable, I randomly started to experience severe lag and some massive latency issues. I downloaded a program called Latency and I ran it on the system, and it concluded that I was experiencing latency issues basically with audio and other things. And the thing is, I don't put a lot of stock into this test simply because I've had times where it says, hey, you know, you're having audio issues, but my audio is totally fine. It's fine in my headset. It's fine when I record. There's no issues there, but I do have latency with the mouse. And then I've also had times where I've had no latency with the mouse or audio, but yet it still says you have latency. I started working with another tech reviewer, Danny Z Reviews, and he suggested that I use Unpark CPU, which is a free program you can download. And essentially, you know, you hit a button, it unparks all the cores on your CPU, and ideally it should fix the issue. And temporarily it did. I applied this fix, I reran Latency and now it said, hey, everything's totally fine and there's no issues. And instead of having, you know, red letters, I had green letters and everything looked good. But unfortunately, my latency issues have come back. I have even switched out my 14700K with a 14900K, and switching to a 14900K did allow me to fully utilize my 7200 megahertz RAM kit totally fine with no issues. I enabled XMP, everything worked totally fine, no tweaking of any kind, but my latency issues still persisted. And now today, after trying every fix I can possibly find on the internet about this, my issues are intermittent. I will restart the PC and everything will be totally fine. And then I'll open a game or I'll open DaVinci Resolve, basically something that's a little bit intensive for the CPU, boom, the latency issues come back. And while I'm gaming, I don't notice the issues. They're totally fine. There's no noticeable latency there. But the moment I switch back to my desktop, my mouse is lagging and stuttering all over the place. Sometimes my keyboard won't register, and it's not my peripherals. I've tried other peripherals. I've taken these same peripherals and I've used them, you know, on other systems and they're totally fine. I've switched out my mouse pad. It's nothing like that. This is definitely an Intel problem. And to be totally fair, it could just be a Windows 11 problem. And that's why the Unparked CPU program works so well for Danny, is because Windows does a bad job at parking and unparking CPU cores. And so it could just be a Windows 11 problem. But either way, look, regardless if you want to call it an Intel problem or a Windows 11 problem, it is a problem, and more people are starting to notice. In addition to Danny Z, you have Brian from Tech Yes City, who talked about this multiple times on his channel about the snappiness of the Intel CPUs. And then in addition to that, you have Taekwondo, who also talked about it. And then in addition to that, you have CPPC Tech, who mostly focuses on handheld stuff these days, but overall, he's a smart guy. He's a nice guy. He knows a lot about Intel, and him and I have been going back and forth in DMs talking about it. He also experienced this issue temporarily, and he was able to fix it, and he shared his settings with me. But again, unfortunately for me, it didn't work. But Danny was able to fix his issues, and I think Brian is maybe just using a different CPU. And Taekwondo made a part 3 to the whole latency issue with Intel, and he was able to finally fix his issue, but he even admitted that he shouldn't have to change all these different settings just to eliminate this issue, and I fully agree with him. And with CPPC Tech, he was able to fix his issues. So I seem to be the only one who can't get this resolved. Let me guess. Skill issue, right? Look, man, I have spoken directly with 3 of the 4 YouTubers that I just mentioned. Every one of these YouTubers are awesome. I think they're smart, and I do think they know what they're talking about. I will have a link to all of their channels down below in the description, and I do highly encourage you to check them out. With that being said, I have tried every suggestion they have given me privately, as well as what they have put into their public YouTube videos. And unfortunately, nothing has worked for me. I am not a hardware engineer. My day job is actually a software engineer, so I do know a thing or two about software. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about the Intel architecture and how it's designed and all that stuff. I'm not even going to pretend to do that. But I do know a thing or two about building PCs, installing Windows, applying different Windows updates and BIOS updates and driver updates and chipset updates and all that stuff, okay? I do know a thing or two about that. And trust me when I tell you, I've tried everything that I can find online to fix this issue. I cannot fix it. Now, with that being said, I have three options available to me. I can reinstall Windows and hope and pray that fixes the issue. The problem there is that even if a reinstallation of Windows 11 does fix the issue, who's to say it won't just come back in another 2 months like it did initially with my 14700K? Because initially on a fresh Windows install, I did not have this problem with my 14700K. But after a couple of months of usage, it popped up. The second option is I could downgrade to Windows 10. The problem there is that I don't know if that would even fix the issue, and then I do know that has a negative impact on my E-cores. The third option is simply switch back to AMD and go to AM5. The thing there is I look back at my old videos and my first initial reaction is, oh man, I don't want to go through all of that again. But then I have to remember, it's been about a year since I've made those AM5 videos, and a lot has changed. AMD has issued many Agesa updates, and every motherboard manufacturer has issued various BIOS updates, you know, adding security fixes, compatibility fixes, bug fixes, just all the things, right? And the QVL or qualified vendor lists have all been updated for various motherboards. What a lot of people don't understand is that when I initially walked into Micro Center the first time to build my AM5 platform for the first time, the QVLs were not that populated and they were not that reliable. And I've documented this in my 4-part video series talking about, you know, the whole AM5 situation. And there are examples out there documented where people have purchased RAM kits that were on a QVL for a motherboard, and that RAM kit did not work. It was actually not compatible, and later it was taken down. People had also purchased RAM kits that were fully compatible that were not listed on a QVL anywhere. But, you know, like I said, a lot has changed. It's been over a year now, and a lot of these lists have been properly updated. So now I can go and buy with confidence, and that's what I've done. I recently went in the Micro Center and I purchased a new AM5 platform. I say new, really, I bought most of the stuff open box. I have a 7800X3D, and I have an Asus ROG Strix X670EF gaming motherboard, and no, Asus did not provide that to me. I paid for that open box from Micro Center. The only thing new in box was the RAM kit itself, rated at 6,000 megahertz, made by G.Skill. It is on the QVL. It's a 32 gigabyte kit, and it is made by SK Hynix. And with it being made by SK Hynix, I'm pretty confident it's going to work a lot better than it did last time. Because last time, I'm pretty sure I did not have an SK Hynix kit, and I do think that makes a huge difference. With all that being said, I've already put this system together. I'll show it on the screen right now. And this is just a quick and dirty build. This is not going to be the final look of it, but I wanted to test that all the components worked, especially considering how I purchased 2 of the components open box. I'm happy to report that everything works totally fine, and I enabled AMD Expo, the overclocking profile for the RAM, and everything worked totally fine. The system is stable at 6,000 megahertz, which is something I could never do a year ago, even after using multiple different RAM kits. So like I said, a lot has changed. Now the question is, what do I want to do? Do I want to leave the 7800X3D as a test system because, you know, the 7800X3D is the fastest gaming CPU out there? Or since I game on my main rig, should I make it my main rig and take advantage of that gaming horsepower and then take the 14900K and put it over as the test bench because I can take full advantage of 7200 megahertz on the RAM speed because it has a better memory controller and all that stuff. Plus it's a 14900K, so it's top of the line from Intel. And then I could just use my 14700K as a backup, give it to a friend, sell it to somebody. I don't know. These are all viable options. And honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards that. I'm kind of leaning towards, you know, making the 7800X3D my main system and taking the 14900K and putting it over here as the main test bench and maybe just selling the 14700K. That's kind of where I'm at right now, but you let me know in the comment section below what you think about all of this. I really do appreciate your feedback. Maybe there's a setting somewhere or something I haven't tried yet that you can suggest that will fix my issues, and I'll give it a shot. And I'll definitely let you know what my final decision is. Thank you for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do me a favor, hit that like button because it goes a long way in helping me out. If you're new, get subscribed. And by the way, I do have a Patreon. Consider checking it out. It's only $1. First 7 days are free. Until next time, E-Rock out.